What does it look like to build and sell an online software business? And then what does it look like to transition from building to selling profitable, privately held and family-owned businesses? Well, that's what we're going to find out from Brecht Palombo today. Let's join the conversation. Welcome to the show, Brecht.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So I hear you are calling in today from Oregon. So it's
beautiful Bend, Oregon.
Bend, Oregon. I've actually been through Bend, Oregon. That's a beautiful part of the country. I grew up in Northern California, so a lot of the same, but a lot different. A lot more rain there than there was in Northern California for sure. So now, well, as I kind of teased in our intro before I get into the conversation here, that you have actually built and sold, or as some would say, founded and exited successfully a software company. So one, what drove you to build a software company in the first place? And then two, what was the software?
Sure. Well, so one, it was really, there's a lot of different founder stories. A lot of times they're scratching their own itch, and that was definitely what was happening with me. Now, this is a while back. This is in 2009, August 2009, August 31st, actually. 2009 is the very first user, which was me on the software that I sold. And, at the time, if your listeners were in their careers at that time, they would know that it was difficult in 2009, just a little bit. I was coming out of I had owned a real estate brokerage for some time, and I had positioned for, this is a long story. We could go all the way back, Michael, but I got positioned for the crash as an auctioneer. And so I said, all right, well, the real estate, it feels pretty frothy right now. If things are to correct, how's this going to play out? And I thought, well, the banks are going to be really where the deals are. And so I got positioned as an auctioneer, as commercial real estate auctioneer. So I've sold a lot of commercial buildings and shopping malls and office buildings and lots of stuff. And during that time, I sort of discovered this source of data where you could find what the bank and credit unions had on their books for non-performing assets. And so what I did is I developed a software to make that easy, because I figured if I'm looking for this information, there's got to be other people who are also looking for this information. And, to be honest, at the time, another reason was that I had kind of, if you were in real estate in 2008 and 9, it's pretty tough. A lot of the guys I know, not to be gender specific, but a lot of the guys I know lost. It was a very hard time to be in that business, and so part of it for me was the idea of recurring revenue. Like, imagine that money is just coming in every day from subscriptions. And so I kicked it off with put my first version on credit cards. Cost me $3,500 to get something stood up on what was Odesk at the time. I think they call it, it's been through a series of acquisitions. I think it's Upwork today. So that's how I started. And it was called Bank Prospector. It lives at distressedpro.com. And if you are a broker or an investor, maybe you have a small family office or a private equity group, and you buy non-performing assets, then that software will help you identify your best sources for those.
And so now, who did you sell to, or did you build it to sell it, or how did that all come about?
Who did I sell the business to, or who are my customers?
Yeah. I mean, you exited, right? You sold it to somebody else, or were you acquired, or how did all that come about?
Yeah. So I remember maybe it was in 2020 or 2019. I'm very fortunate to be in a few entrepreneurs groups where it's other people who own similar software businesses. And I remember writing this email, Slack, it was actually a Slack post to people. And I was just I said, uncle. Like I've, past couple of years, I've been, now this is 10 odd years into owning the business. Past couple of years, things were very good, high profitable business. I didn't work that much, but it felt like pushing a rope. And anything that I did, I'd throw all kinds of marketing and advertising ideas at it. And I just couldn't get it to, it just kept kind of ticking up at its few percent per year. And it became a very frustrating kind of place. And I thought that, perhaps the ceiling on this particular business is too low. And so I decided to get ready for sale. And so I spent about 18 months doing that. And then just so happened, as things tend to just so happen, that, once it was out there in the universe, I was contacted by a search fund in August of 2021. And after I was contacted by them, went through a couple of weeks of due diligence, and I got sort of their initial indication of interest in their offer. And then I parlayed that into an auction. And so I took the business to market without a price, and I had a number of buyer seller meetings. I think I got 6 LOIs, and I picked one, and we closed 15 days later, which was pretty crazy.
Wow.
We met near a bank, and he brought a cashier's check, and I walked over to my bank. And they had to get a whole team of people to come deposit that thing. Yeah, so that was a good day.
Wow. And so I have a couple of friends who have exited successfully in the marketing world, and which is what I've run for 19 years. And, they had a really tough time trying to figure out what they were going to do next. How did you prepare yourself for the transition of, owning this online business to what you're doing today?
Yeah. I spent a lot more time preparing the business to be successfully transferred than I did on myself to be successfully transferred.
That's
And
that's an old tale right there.
Yeah, it is.
Tried and true.
Yeah. So I came out of that sale, and I immediately started looking for another business to buy. And so within a couple of weeks, I was, talking to my peers. It was like, hey, look at this. I'm thinking about buying this business. I'm thinking about buying this one. And the overwhelming advice was like, hey, slow your roll. Like what, you've only been out for a week, maybe you should go on vacation or something. And, a week turned into 2, turned into a couple of months, turned into a year or more. And so I did take some time, experimented with a few things, and I had been considering, of course, the newsletter thing is very hot, and newsletter was a primary component of my previous business. Had 25,000 subscribers. It went out a week, fantastic open rates. It was like a cornerstone of my communication strategy. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll do something like that. And so I have a newsletter called Alt Reports, where we investigated alternative investments. And so, the idea was I'm going to interview these folks, and I'll put some money with them, and then we'll see how it all goes. And it turned out like nobody really cared. Tried another few things like that. And my wife said to me, you've been talking about getting back into deals. And I even had like registered domains and whatnot to do it, as we all do. It's the first thing you should do with a new business is register a bunch of domains. It's a joke.
Right. And, it's very true. It's very true. Even if you don't use them, I find, I don't know how many domains I have bought over the years when it's like, that's a great idea. Wow, would be an awesome URL. Buy it. We'll figure the rest out later. And then like a year later, it goes to renew, and you're like, yep, that's not going to happen. Okay, bye.
Yeah, right. And while you're at it, you may as well get the .NET and Co and AI and LY.
Oh yeah.
But
so I did
that.
Then there's that one that actually takes off, and you're like, that was worth it. That was worth $100. So you're all right.
That's true. Sometimes there is that one, but not this time. So, so I went through that, and the thing is, the the 0 to 1's really hard. The going from nothing to now you've got, revenue, you're growing and all that. That's a really hard thing to do. I'm a little older now than I was. I owned that business for 13 years. And anyway, yeah, I'd been talking about getting back into transacting. So in my past life, I did a lot of brokerage, owned a commercial real estate brokerage with a great partner, and left that to pursue the software full time. And I thought I really get back into doing deals. And, the challenge with doing deals when you're younger and you don't have the sort of capital and experience is that the income is very lumpy. It's a 6-figure month and then it's months, with 0. And that can be very hard. But I'm at a different time in my life. And what I really had to think about was, how do I want to spend each day? And for me, the constant pursuit of Google placement and that sort of thing just wasn't how I wanted to spend my day anymore. And what I really wanted to do is spend my day across the table from people on the phone, not typing, where I've got, then I've got the shoulder problem, I'm sitting at a desk all the time. And, I want to just get out there and live among people again. Yeah, because owning software business can be very, especially when it's fully remote, like mine and like many are, mine was and many are, it's isolating, and the work is extremely screen focused. And so just getting away from all of that and being able to pursue projects that have a beginning and then an end also is really appealing at this stage. So that's why I went that way.
So, all right. So paint us a picture of your business now. What do you do? Who do you serve? And how does that serve your life's vision? Like you just went through, I want to live a certain life this way. So kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So for me, the most important thing is control of my time. I need to know that, most of the time, sure, everybody has obligations. I've got obligations, but by and large, I have control of my time. And that is the most important thing. And so this business really suits me really well from that perspective. I also like the thrill of the hunt. I don't know. Am I answering your question, Michael? I think I went off track.
Sure. Yeah. So you now broker businesses now, right?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. So I work primarily with more traditional business owners with $1 to $50 million in revenue. And so just to give you a quick example of some of the sorts of businesses that I've got under contract right now, one sewer renewal business where they go out and they will repair your sewer lines. Another one is actually have a small biotech business, a mom-and-pop biotech business. That is under contract. I've got industrial parts supply, solar installation, and so sort of like a variety of businesses. And what's really nice about it is it's kind of brought me back to is very much like the commercial real estate business that I was in previously. And so I felt like when I went on my search and started looking for a business to buy, I didn't care for the way I was treated. Here I am. I'm like an experienced past CEO, business owner, exited founder, have cash, ready to go. And in the lower end of the lower middle market, I was not very impressed with the folks that I was dealing with, the way that I was treated and all that. And I thought that I could probably do a lot better than that. And I feel like there's a real dearth of sophistication and professionalism in the business brokerage space. You can call yourself, an M&A advisor or whatever else. But if you're talking about businesses that are selling from $1 to $20 million, then you've got the field is let's just say I like the competition from my perspective. It's pretty good. So I wanted to bring a more sophisticated, but more professional approach to working with folks. So, you hear back from me. in
Right.
a reasonable
That's always
amount of
nice,
time,
right? Like when your
things
broker
like that.
actually
Yeah,
returns your calls. Yeah, it's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So now that you've built a seven-figure business, you now deal with helping other people sell seven-figure businesses. What advice would you give to
Indeed.
somebody who hasn't quite hit seven figures? Maybe they're in the seven-figure business, but haven't decided whether they're going to sell or if they are ever going to exit or anything like that. But they got to stay ready to do that at any given point, right? We just never know what life's going to throw at us. And I always tell people,
That's true.
regardless of if you're going to sell or if you think you're going to sell or not, build the sell so that if you ever get there. That's the
Absolutely.
easy way. That's the easy question, right? So what advice other than that would you give somebody that's in that, sub seven, maybe past seven, and they're a service-based business like you're talking about?
Sure. I mean, I think the number one thing to think about is, how does this business do without you? And if the answer is not well or not at all, then you've got a really good job, you know? And so one of the biggest things that I'll tell you, the very first question that anybody serious asks me when they inquire about a business that I am representing is, what's the owner's role? And so if the answer is chief cook and bottle washer, I do all of the sales, I put out all the fires, everybody reports to me, then you don't have a good business. You might have a good income, but you don't have a good business. And so that is the number one risk, is the risk of change of ownership, which is, how much is this particular personality bringing to the table and what happens to the business afterwards? And so to the extent that you're able to get yourself out of that, that's how successful you're going to be selling your business. There's plenty of other risks that you can look at, like where are the deals coming from, or customer concentration, all this kind of thing. But in the end, if you don't have something that's easily transferred to another person, then you really don't have much of a business.